Hello and welcome to the October 11th regular town council meeting of the town of Vegreville. Call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. I'll be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Riddick makes the motion. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Next up, I'm looking for a motion for the adoption of the minutes of our last regular meeting. Councillor Warwa makes the motion. Any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. First up, we're going to go to our correspondence, and we have a letter from the Village of Holden.
Thank you, Your Worship. This letter is from the Village of Holden. It's regarding the Regional Recreation Feasibility Study Proposal, or the Alberta Community Partnership Program. Dear Ms. Ling, further to your letter dated September 13th, 2023, please be advised that the Village of Holden Council passed the following motion at the September 18th, 2023 regular council meeting. Moved by Councillor Beckett that the Council agrees to participate in the Alberta Community Partnership Grant application along with the County of Minburn, Town of Mundare, Town of Two Hills, County of Lamont, Beaver County, Village of Holden, and Village of Riley, along with the Town of Vegreville being the managing partner. Please keep the village informed on this topic, and we look forward to participating in the study and any meetings in relation to this regional recreational feasibility study. Sincerely, Rosemary Offrey, the Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to receive and file. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Lemko.
As talked about before, it's nice to have membership on our feasibility study from south of us, where we typically don't look for, because it's not in our really big trading area. We typically go to the north and the east and west, but it's nice to see Holden jumping on board to help us as well.
Do you know anybody from Holden, Councillor Lemko?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is nice, and I know we don't typically look to the south in our municipalities, neighboring municipalities, but we know that we see them in our community all the time and at our facilities now. And with the type of facility we'd like to build in this regional recreation center, it's going to take everybody, and we will be the hub for this area when it comes with this new facility. So it's glad to see that we're making more partnerships as we build this. So, okay, all those in favor for the motion? Carried. Thank you very much. Next up, Director Johnston.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we have a RCD with the topic being to reallocate MSI grant funds. The proposal is to reallocate $650,000 of MSI grant funding to be used on Prosperity Industrial Park and repairs at 52nd and 53rd Street. The background is the initial 2023 capital budget had allocated $250,000 of CCBF funding to complete sewer repairs for 49th Ave and 52nd Street, and manhole repairs at 45A Ave and 53rd Street. The revised plan funds these repairs through the MSI program. The remaining $400,000 of MSI funding was allocated to the purchase of a fire truck. Since the truck has a long lead time and is now part of the joint fire apparatus capital plan with the County of Minburn, reserves can be used to fund the purchase. Therefore, the MSI funding of $400,000 can be allocated towards Prosperity Industrial Park. The financial implication: the reallocation of funds fully utilizes the 2023 MSI funding and allows the $250,000 of CCBF funding previously allocated to be used towards the Prosperity Industrial Park project. The recommendation is for Town Council to approve the transfer of $650,000 of MSI grant funding to be used on Prosperity Industrial Park and repairs at 52nd and 53rd Street.
Okay, thank you very much. Take a motion for the recommendation. Councillor Berry makes the motion. Any comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Rudy.
I think this is a good way for us to be able to utilize both federal and provincial conditional funding in the form of MSI and the Canada Community Building Fund. seeing as how Prosperity Park has already been largely funded by grants by both orders of government, federal and provincial. So I'm glad to see that this reallocation is here and that we can continue on with the project in this way.
Anybody else? Well, I'd also like to note too that the partnership, you know, first of all, the order date and the receive date on the fire truck is unbelievable. How long we're waiting for that piece, but the fact that the joint fire apparatus capital plan that we have with the county, Minburn, and ourselves, the reserves that we're putting in every year that will be able to fund this project is just another positive thing that we're working good with our neighbors, the county, and for the good of all the residents in this area. So, but I do have a question, Director Johnston. Is this for all the grant money that we have available that we've been holding back and stuff will all be used at this point?
Correct. So I guess not entirely correct. At this point in time, we show a carry forward of $15,273 of CCBF funds, but that will fully utilize MSI.
Because I wasn't aware just how close the provincial government watches how we allocate grant money and when we put grant money away. After CAO Ling had her meeting with the municipal affairs and the grant, what was the department that you met with?
It was the Municipal Affairs and Grant Department, yes.
And they know exactly where we have allocated every dime of grant money that we have available. So moving forward, if we're not using this and we're trying to put it away for other projects at a time, is a hindrance on a grant application because they already know that we have unallocated grant money. And I had no idea they were watching so closely, but they knew exactly where everything was allocated and what wasn't. So that being said, this is nice. You know, it frees up that money, and well, it doesn't free it up, but it's going towards a different cause today, and we can move on with some of our infrastructure challenges. So all those in favor for the recommendation? Carried. Thank you very much. And who's doing the bylaw?
That would be me.
Okay.
Okay, so in front of you is bylaw number 04/2023 for the borrowing bylaw for the forced main replacement. This bylaw had first reading on September 11th. It's come back here for second and third reading after being advertised. As per the MGA, we've had no inquiries or any questions or anything from the public in the 2 weeks of advertising that we had done. And so council can decide if they want to go ahead with second and third reading tonight.
Okay. I'll take a motion for second reading. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Is there any questions, any comments regarding this borrowing bylaw? I would like to state that during Alberta Munis, CAO Ling and myself met with the Deputy Minister of Transportation, and we told them about the cost overruns from where we were at with moving forward with this project from where we thought it would be and where the tender amount was. And they said to go ahead, we could do this borrowing bylaw, but we could also ask on the overruns, from the difference from where we thought it was going to be and where we would be. But again, they would only fund that if they did at 41.67%. So as soon as this bylaw goes through, we will be formally asking for the difference in the cost difference between the tender and the actual estimated cost. So we'll see no other comments. All those in favor for the second reading? Carried. And since we've already had first reading, I have to skip one reading on this.
Yes, you do.
So I'll now take a motion for the third and final reading. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Any more comments? Being none, all those in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that went pretty good. It's amazing how fast we can be when we went to, of course, we already talked about this 100 times. Okay, so we'll move into council reports, and we're gonna start with Councillor Lemke.
Thank you, Your Worship. The week of the September 27th to 29th, I, along with my fellow colleagues, attended the Alberta Municipalities Conference in Edmonton, joined in on the sessions and a lot of the resolutions. It's always good to attend those functions and see what's happening across Alberta and what is proposed and coming down. I attended October 3rd, the Ledge meeting, October 4th, the budget meeting. Last night I attended a Vegreville and Area Stands with Ukraine meeting. Just to let you know that since my last meeting there, they've brought in 2 more families, and there's 2 more families coming by the end of October. So we're well over 30 families in our community now, and they continue to support and ensure that these Ukrainians are looked after. And tonight's council meeting, Your Worship, and that's all I got.
Can you give everybody a little update on how the move went with their storage of furniture and stuff, like where that is now? And
Yeah, so the story, our donation center started out in the Trans-Canada building when the war first started. And since then, we've, with the sale of the Trans-Canada, we were moved over to the museum, and we were storing there in the metal shed in the back. And this fall, through the generous donation of Mr. I believe his first name's Dwayne anyway, who owns the mall, Vanette, the old Vanette Mall, and across the road by where the outreach school used to be. He graciously donated a space at no cost to the committee, and they've set up there and are running out of there. So it's good that we have that support from folks to do what that committee does. So that's where we are right now, and the donations are on as need basis versus a drop-off center now. It's where we'll go out and ask for donations from the public for certain items and furnish suites and that kind of stuff. So the committee does outstanding work in this community. That's about all I got.
good, that was very nice of that donation of that space, heated space too, it was very good.
Yep.
Great, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you very much. I was away here last week, so I missed a couple things, but I did attend the AB Munis conference as well. And again, it's really good to get some networking in, to do some sessions, to see what other towns are facing and what's similar and what's different, and learn from that, and maybe some ways we can help ourselves and help other towns. I do have some homework. I did miss our budget meeting that came up, and Jameson was nice enough to record it, so I will have some homework to go through and make sure I catch up with you guys on that. And there's tonight's council meeting.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rudick.
So since we last met, again, AUMAC conference, or Alberta Munis conference, September 27th to 29th, and great to be able to talk with some of our counterparts with provincial government and see what's happening and making sure that we're completing our grants in the way that we should, so that we can maximize that funding, because it's ever tighter. And although there's been some announcements about LGFF, Local Government Fiscal Framework, it's certainly not enough to be able to keep up with inflation or the increase in our population, both in Vegreville and in the province. We had a large influx of population, and our infrastructure needs are just going to continue to grow. So good to be able to have some of those conversations with our colleagues. October 3rd, bright and early, we met with our Ukrainian twin city, Kolomea, and had a good conversation with them about what's happening there and what kind of partnerships they're looking at forming with us, and trying to have some conversations moving forward about sharing best practices for economic development, for example, and making sure that when the war ends, that they're ready to resume the vitality of their city and their region. And so it was good to be able to talk with them and consider how we could work together. Budget meeting and legislative committee meeting like other colleagues, but I'll mention October 5th, I attended the Alberta Seniors and Community Housing Association North Zone meeting and board elections. And a lot of good conversations there about what's happening in the province and the need for a different approach in terms of senior and community housing. The amalgamation of those two different bodies a few years ago was initially thought to be quite controversial, but it is absolutely not because, for example, a new housing, near market housing is what they'll call it, in Fort Saskatchewan was built with Green Municipal Fund as well as both federal and provincial money. And the Housing Foundation in Fort Saskatchewan tried this as a initial foray into that joint funding, and it is already with a full docket of residents and a long list of people looking for. Near market means affordable with the formula, but it is near market because it is actually in competition and it is a competitive market, so it's meant to be operating in that realm. And as we look at those kind of operations and opportunities here locally with our housing board with the Minburn Foundation, it's really important to talk about how we're going to approach the need for housing locally and how we're going to do that in a way that meets the needs of our community and the region. So having a new minister, Minister Nixon, and making sure that we're right on the money in terms of talking about the lodge program provincially and making sure that they're provincially they're having a task force about the lodge program, and Alberta is unique in how they have the lodge program. That's not something that exists elsewhere. And they plan on doing a lot more advocacy federally as well. So they're attending the National Housing Symposium on the Hill in Ottawa and ensuring that they also have an MLA breakfast to really drive home the message that this is not a nice to have, this is a necessity, and Alberta is actually far behind every other province and territory in terms of the number of units that we've got available for folks. So it's a good meeting, really glad that we went, and there's some new people representing the area, including the Housing Authority manager from Fort Saskatchewan representing as the chair for this area. So good meeting and glad that I was able to attend. FCM briefing yesterday, on October 10th, I thought it was yesterday, and then today's meeting. That's it.
Thank you very much. Councilor Warla.
Thank you. I had mostly the same meetings as everybody else. I also attended the Alberta Munis. I think one thing I wanted to say about that was I was, I guess, encouraged to see that there was some opportunity, especially when dealing with resolutions, where some of our smaller communities were able to band together and actually get their voices heard on some of the resolutions. Sometimes we do have, and I don't like to create an urban versus rural, especially when we talk about going to the municipalities convention, because we're all municipalities, but sometimes it does happen that way where we are getting a disproportionate share of the funding, and sometimes where regulations and legislations don't always apply to us in the same way or impact us in the same way. So I think it was encouraging to see that there were a few resolutions where the smaller communities sort of stood together and said no, because they realized in the long term, seeing those things push forward would benefit, once again, the larger communities and not necessarily us. So I was encouraged by that. I was at the October 3rd Ledge meeting and the October 4th budget presentation, as well as tonight's council meeting. And one other comment I had just about our budget presentations. I appreciated the work that is being put forward for us from administration. I can tell you that one conversation that I had with a few people during the Munis convention was about budgets. We're of course required to have budgets passed. However, many communities are doing it differently. They're passing a budget in theory, but essentially it's basically an interim budget that they're adjusting later. And I appreciate that we're passing true budgets when we pass them in December. I think that that is, from the conversations I had with probably 4 to 5 communities, we were one of the only ones really aggressively doing that. And I think it allows us for better planning. So it's very onerous on the admin, and I know it means quite a few meetings during a very busy time in the fall, but I think in the long run, it sets us up for better long-term planning. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Bullock.
Thank you, Your Worship. October 3rd, our Ledge meeting. October 4th, the budget presentations from managers. Also October 5th, Vegreville District Chamber of Commerce Board meeting, so they're gearing up for the Small Business Week coming up. And also, October 9th is their AGM for anyone who wants to attend the Chamber of Commerce AGM. You should check it out.
Is that the 19th?
It's on the 19th, October 19th. Yeah, so be great to check that one out. Just call into the chamber or look it up on the website, and you can pick up the tickets for that. It's very inexpensive for that event. Wise to check it out. It's underutilized. So, and just another shout out to the small businesses coming up here, just the ones that will be taking part in that. It's really good to see what our small businesses do for our community around here. Without them, we wouldn't have some of the recreational opportunities that we do. So it's very good that they are out there, and we need to support our small business. Also, today, the CAL's board meeting, so much of the same thing going on there as the last time I spoke about, except coming up for, keep your eyes on the horizon for the Food Survivor fundraiser that's coming through for CAL's. So I'll have more on that the next time we meet. And tonight's council meeting.
What can you tell us about the chamber? They're having a hockey draft or something coming up, aren't they?
Sorry, yes, the hockey draft, the day on that, that's actually right quick here.
This weekend.
That's this weekend, I think Friday night, actually.
Yeah, it's
So hockey draft, I'm not a big super hockey guy, so, but anyways, they are putting teams together for that draft, so if you want to taken part of that, could get interesting at the Kinsman Golf Course here on,
well, I've been hearing it advertised in Country 106.5, and it seems interesting, the format, if you're a guy that's into hockey drafts, so.
there you go.
It's teams. You come together as a team, and there's prizes every month, and sounds like quite a deal for the chamber, so.
It should be exciting.
Yes.
So there's probably enough sitting right up front here to form a team, actually, and some admin staff probably get two together.
I think it's a four-man team.
That's
Or
right, that's what I said, there's enough.
Four-person team.
Yeah, four-person team. So we got enough between admin staff and here to have a few teams.
Thank you very much. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also attended the Munis conference, and I'd have to say that I really definitely enjoyed 2 or 3 of the breakout sessions. They were really on topic for me. I thought it was a very good conference, all told. On the 3rd, Ledge. On the 4th, the managers' presentations, and I thought they all did a very good job of presenting their wish list, we'll say, and then we'll start working on what we can really actually afford to put together as a budget as we go through the rest of, I guess, into November. And otherwise, just tonight's meeting.
Thank you very much. So myself, on the 3rd, I was in on the early morning meeting, the twinning committee with the city of Kolomea in Ukraine, and we haven't touched base with them for a while. Councillor Rudick was right. They were looking for some input and what are our best practices and economic development and moving forward. But they also brought us up to date on some of the things they're doing. They are on the west side of the war, and they are not as greatly impacted as what's going on in the east, but they have a lot of convalescing soldiers there that they're taking care of. They come to that part of the country. They're always looking for some new equipment, and they're very thankful for the fundraising that's been going on in this area. The city of Edmonton and their fire services and emergency services have helped put a program together in Kolomea where they teach everyday citizens of Ukraine how to do search and rescue in blown up buildings and apartment buildings and stuff. So that is an ongoing program that they're running for the rest of Ukraine out of Kolomea. And they thanked us for the bunker gear that we had sent earlier from our fire department and stuff. So we will be having more conversations with them. Councillor Rudick is graciously taking on that role, and with a little bit of support and some of the information that we've been receiving through our economic development department here in town, we will be sharing some best practices with the council there. So looking forward to that. And again, it was just nice to, be able to have a conversation with them. We had the Ledge on the 3rd, managers meeting. Today, I had a meeting with the staff and ownership of the Vegreville Shell. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the gentleman that owns the Shell here and runs this franchise, he has 3 others in Lloydminster, And they received the Retailer's Award in Alberta. And so they wanted to come in, they wanted to thank what we've done to promote their business and them receiving the award. And it was a really nice meeting we had with them, and they asked how they could get a little more involved in the community, which, of course, I said, there's all kinds of tournaments and drag races and stuff like that help out your service business that you're in. And so he'd be looking for some opportunities to help sponsor some of that stuff. So again, that he understands that when these things happen in our community, that it benefits him, and he'd like to be, take a role in at least sponsoring some of that too. So, and tonight's council meeting. So again, thank you all for what you do. Every 2 weeks, we get to toot your own horn a little bit or tell the community what you have been doing. It's always good. With that being said, we do have a delegation here, so I would like to move to motion for a closed session. Councillor Lemko makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. 7:25, Leslie. We entered. Jeff, do you have any questions for anybody?